Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is now week 6 in the NFL, so we're back with my weekly NFL predictions. If you enjoy the content, make sure you do like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And with that being said, let's get to my week 6 NFL predictions. So we are obviously starting off with the previous week recap. So for as good as a week I had in week 4, week 5, it wasn't the best for me. So Bears beat the Commanders, Jaguars beat the Bills, which Bills, man, totally let me down. Falcons beat the Texans. Definitely weird. I thought the Texans would win that one. Lions beat the Panthers, Colts beat the Titans, Dolphins beat the Giants, Saints beat the Patriots, which Patriots, man, that was just terrible. Steelers beat the Ravens, Eagles beat the Rams, Bengals beat the Cardinals, Jets beat the Broncos, Chiefs beat the Vikings, 49ers beat the Cowboys, and the Raiders beat the Packers. So I feel like a lot of these games, I was just unfortunately on the wrong side of a close game. So 5-9 on the week, not great. After week 5, my record is 45-33. Not horrible. We're still net positive on the year, but could be better. And now hopping over to my weekly top 5 NFL rankings. It might be a little controversial, but I don't think it actually will be. Number 5 is the Lions. I think the Lions, they look like one of the most complete teams in the NFC, and I'm just super impressed with them. Their run game comes to play every week, and as long as Jared Goff isn't making too many mistakes and throwing the ball to the other team consistently, I think the Lions can continue to do work, and I genuinely expect good things from them. Coming in at number 4 is the Dolphins. I think Dolphins are probably the best offense right now. Them and the Niners are the two best offenses, in my opinion. They just look super good. Just one of the most complete offenses. Their defense is the only reason they're not ranked higher for me. Their defense is just a little suspect at times, and yeah, I'm just not overly sold on their defense. Number 3 is the Chiefs. I think Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They play everybody super tough, and they will win 90% of their games, I would say. They're just never out of it, and they're kind of annoying. And number 2 and number 1 didn't change. San Francisco at number 1, Philadelphia at number 2. Philadelphia, they find ways to win, and especially Jalen Hurts playing better last week was super good for them. And the Niners are the Niners. They have so many weapons, and Brock Purdy's starting to look amazing. So yeah, Niners are the best team in my opinion. All right, and the teams that are on buys this week, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. So neither team is playing a game this week, so we will not be discussing them. And for the first game of the week, it is Thursday Night Football. It is the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. So for the Broncos, they just need to take care of the ball. And I'm not just talking about on that last possession when Russell Wilson fumbles the ball away. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the entire game. They are just too loosey-goosey with the football and just not caring about it whatsoever. And it's quite apparent with how many turnovers they have every single week. I think they need to not abandon the run game so early. Run the ball with Russ. Run it with any of the running backs they have on that roster at this point. They just are giving up on the run game super early, and it leads to not being able to rely on the run game later on in the game. And you're going to notice this trend with this video. I'm going to be talking about the run game for a lot of these teams. And don't give up on Russ just yet. I don't think Russ is the only problem for this team. I know he fumbled the ball and basically put the game out of reach, and the game was over at that point, but I don't think Russ is the only issue with this team. I think play calling is a giant issue. I think the play calling and the defense is just atrocious in my opinion. As for the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs, they're winning while playing subpar football. It's kind of insane, but they aren't playing super well, but they are still finding ways to win and still putting themselves in opportunities to win. So they're the Chiefs. They know how to win. They're going to continue to win. I still think they need to find somebody to pair with Kelsey. I don't think when they do play those more Super Bowl caliber defenses, they will not be able to just rely on Kelsey, in my opinion. And I think their defense needs to continue to be great. The defense is getting turnovers and getting after the quarterback super consistently, so their defense is super good, in my opinion. And I got the Chiefs winning this one. I don't expect this game to be close. Chiefs 31, Broncos 20. I will not bet the Broncos score over 20 points in this game, but yeah, I definitely got the Chiefs in this one. And now over to Sunday, the games on Sunday, we have our first game, which is the overseas game. It is the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. So for the Ravens, stop beating yourselves. Literally everything that is happening every single week that the Ravens lose, they are beating themselves with dropping the ball on offense. They are not getting the ball back in their secondary, not getting those interceptions that they need to. This team is just so good, and especially, I think their coaching staff puts them in amazing positions to win every single game, but they keep just beating themselves. I think Lamar playing as a pocket passer is a pleasant surprise to me. He is playing way better. As long as they continue to run the ball, especially with Lamar, I think this team is going to be super good with Lamar passing the ball as well as he has been, if they can just catch the ball. As for the Titans, I think they need to not give up on the run games as early as they do sometimes. Especially, you have Derrick Henry, arguably the best running back in the league. Continue to feed him the ball. And I think DeAndre Hopkins is so good. I think they need to just continue to feed this man. Any way you can get him the ball, just continue to do that. And I think their offensive line cannot protect Ryan Tannehill, so the run game is going to need to be relied on, as well as getting Hopkins the ball. So I do have the Ravens winning this one. I'm a little scared for this game just because I think the Titans can win this, but as of right now, I have the Ravens 24, Titans 20. Our first early window game is the Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons. So for the Commanders, I think they have no run game whatsoever. I know they have two decent, and when I say decent, I mean that very, very lightly. I'm not hating or anything, but yeah, I just don't think they have any good running backs. They have a couple of decent ones, but no run game at all from what I can see. I think their defense is way too hot and cold. And when I say hot and cold, they are hot and cold depending on the game, what half it is. It's just their defense needs to be more consistent and show up at all times, and I just don't see that right now for this team. And I'm still looking for a number one consistent wide receiver for this team because there isn't one as of right now. They're still getting dubs, so it is what it is, but that's what I am looking for when I'm watching the Commanders. Excuse me. As for the Falcons, I think Ritter thrives at home. He plays super well at home. I think he's undefeated at home this season, and I think at the end of last season. And I think if they can continue to get Bijan Robinson the ball as much as possible, because I don't think he still has not scored an offensive touch. He has not scored a touchdown this season. So yeah, if you can continue to get Bijan the ball, I think this team is going to do well. And I think a rare Kyle Pitts sighting last week, is that a recipe for success going forward? Are we going to see that more for this team? I hope so. I think Kyle Pitts, this team had very high hopes for him, and I haven't seen anything for any of that yet. So hopefully we can see that going forward for the Falcons. As of right now, I got the Falcons winning this game. Falcons 28, Commanders 20. This game could go either way, but I think the Falcons defense is going to be better than the Commanders offense. Our next game is the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. So for the Vikings, stop giving up on the run game. Like I said, this is going to be a continuous theme throughout this video because so many teams just give up on the run game so quickly, and it's just not a recipe for success for a lot of teams. And I think Kirk Cousins is not the issue for this team. I think there are quite a bit of issues, especially coaching. I don't think Kirk Cousins is the issue. I think he's actually one of their most consistently good players. And Justin Jefferson is now on injured reserve, so he will miss at least the next 4 weeks. I don't see that being good for this team. I don't see this team winning their division, and I don't see this team making the playoffs. It just doesn't look good for this team. And I think with Justin Jefferson being on IR, I would probably start trading and start to look for a rebuild, in my opinion, for the Vikings. As for the Bears, Fields needs to continue to play like last week, every week. That was the most complete game I think I've ever seen from Justin Fields, and it looked super good. Also from DJ Moore, that was the reason they traded for him. DJ Moore looked so damn good last week, and he finally showed up, so we need to continue to see that from DJ Moore. And their defense needs to continue to get pressure, and I think this team's just kind of fun to watch. I don't expect them to win every week, but they're a fun team to watch. And as of right now, I do have the Bears winning this game. This is probably a little bit of a controversial pick, but I think the Vikings have too many injuries, and without Justin Jefferson, I don't expect a lot of offense from this team. So as of right now, I have the Bears winning. Bears 31, Vikings 30. A little bit of an upset. Our next game is the Seattle Seahawks at the Cincinnati Bengals. So for my Seahawks, just coming off a bye, getting healthy. I think we're getting Jamal Adams back this week. I just think it's a refresher for this team. Definitely feeling better going into this game. And I think they need to just stay the course. Continue to run the ball consistently and pass the ball as much as you need to, and rely on this defense. I think this defense is starting to come into form, especially with all these players that we are getting back healthy. I think the Seahawks are looking very good, and I think Geno needs to just be a difference maker in the way of don't turn the ball over, but also continue to make plays with your amazing wide receivers and running backs. And I think this team can be pretty decent. As for the Bengals, I think they had their best game of the year last week, and they looked a lot like the team that we expected to see going into the year. And I think they need to continue to feed Jamar Chase. I think he is consistently their best player, and I expect that to continue going forward. And just no turnovers. Joe Burrow's a little turnover prone, at least in the first part of the year, in the last 2 years. So hopefully he can clean that up. But yeah, I'm high on both these teams, so I think this game could go either way. But you guys know the rules. We don't bet on my Seahawks, so I have the Bengals winning. Bengals 28, Seahawks 27. This game legitimately could go either way for me, though. Our next game is the San Francisco 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. So for the Niners, I think Brock Purdy thrives in this offense, and I think he finally proves to a lot of people that he can do this, including myself. I think he actually can be the starting quarterback for the 49ers going forward. I think the defense needs to continue to be dominant, and I think they can be. I think they have so many great players all over the field on both sides of the ball, and I think they need to continue to just stay the course of what they're doing. But I will say, do not sleep on the Browns. San Francisco cannot go into this game lightly at all, because the Browns will shut you down, especially on defense. As for the Browns, coming off a bye as well, feeling refreshed, just getting back to health is what a bye is mainly for. So they're coming off of a bye, should be looking healthier this week. I think they need to find a new starting running back. I know they went and got Kareem Hunt back because Nick Chubb is on IR. He's done for the year. So they need to just find a running back that can be consistent and start for this team. And I think Deshaun Watson will be back this week, and I expect him to just do what he did in the last game that he did play, which is game manage and play better than he has been, especially last year. Still, I don't think the Niners are going to lose this game. I got the Niners 31, Browns 24. This game, it could be a trap game for the 49ers, but I'm not betting against the Niners right now. Our next game is the Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. So for the Panthers, their O-line has to do something. They got to protect this kid and Bryce Young, man. He is fighting for his damn life every single time he's out on that field, and it is so sad to watch. And they need to take care of the football, especially, I'm talking mainly Bryce Young. Bryce Young is a little just turnover prone, just throwing the ball to the other team consistently, and it's not working out for them. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they don't have a run game. They need to find the run game and establish it so Bryce Young doesn't have the ball in his hands as much and isn't just getting lit up every other freaking play. As for the Dolphins, stop turning the ball over so much. Tua is also very turnover prone lately. So, if they can clean that up and their defense can show up more consistently, I think this team can be very good. Their running back Achane is on IR, so it's next man up. We'll see who is going to be their running back going forward, and if they can be consistent. But I think if they continue to feed Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, this team will be just fine. Especially, I think Chase Claypool is coming into this offense eventually. So, yeah, this offense is going to be super good. And I do not have the Panthers having a prayer in this game. I got the Dolphins winning. Dolphins 34, Panthers 20. I'll be surprised if the Panthers score more than 20 points, but definitely got the Dolphins in this game. And our next game is the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So for the Colts, Anthony Richardson is out at least 6 weeks from what the reports were saying that I was reading. So it's really unfortunate. He's a rookie. He's still learning. So it sucks that he has to miss so much time in his rookie year. I think Minshew, if he can just game manage, I think they will be just fine. In the 2 games that he had to come into, they've won both of those games. So I think they will be fine with Gardner Minshew. So especially if Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor can carry the ball like Zach Moss did last week, this team will be A-OK. So continue to just run the ball, Indianapolis. As for the Jaguars, run game needs to play like they did last week. ETN went for, I want to say it was like a 140 in total yards on the ground. So continue to play like that. And I think this team will be just fine. But I don't know. I still don't know what the Jaguars are trying to be. But if their defense continue to play hungry like last week, I think they can thrive. I think they can play well and do good things, and just continue to get quality play out of players like Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley finally showed up again last week, and if they can continue to get quality production out of Ridley and a lot of their defensive players and ETN, I think this team can be pretty decent. I do have an upset, though. I got the Colts winning this game. Colts 34, Jaguars 31. Only reason I have this score leaning towards the Colts is because I expect Gardner Minshew to be able to take care of the football, and I don't expect the Jaguars defense to play like they did last week against the Bills. So I got the Colts in this one, 34, Jaguars 31. Over to our next game is the New Orleans Saints at the Houston Texans. So for the Saints, defense played excellent last week, obviously 34-0. So continue to play like that, and I think this team can probably contend for their division with Tampa. I think Derek Carr, he needs to just not throw the game away. So no interceptions, and just don't do too much. Game manage is all they really need. Alvin Kamara looked a lot better last week, and I expect that going forward. I expect him to be better going forward and just to continue to be consistent. So hopefully we can see that from him. As for the Texans, I think Stroud is still the best rookie quarterback in this last draft class. So I expect that to continue going forward, and I hope he continues to impress us, because it's so much fun watching the Texans just because of CJ Stroud. So continue that, and I think he will probably win Offensive Rookie of the Year if he continues to play this way. I think their defense is still learning. They're relatively young, so when I'm seeing them on the field making those mistakes, I think this team just needs to be okay with the mistakes for this year, because a lot of their players are young. So yeah, that's kind of my gist of it. Just be okay with being okay this year. And I think their run game needs to be more productive. Yeah, just because CJ Stroud is legitimately carrying this team every single week. So if they can get production out of their running game, it'll do wonders for this team. I got the Saints winning this game, though. I got the Saints 27, Texans 24. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans won this game, but I think the Saints' defense is probably just going to be a little bit too much for the Texans. Our first late window game is the New England Patriots at the Las Vegas Raiders. So for the Patriots, no run game at all. Their run game does not exist. I don't even know why they have a running back position on their team, because their running game does not exist, and it's terrible. I think they have way too many turnovers. That has to do with a lot of Mac Jones, but yeah, I think this team is just, they don't know what they are. They don't know what they're trying to be, and they have no goal of how to get there or anything of the sort. And I think poor play calling on offense. Their excuse last year was they had a defensive coordinator as their offensive coordinator, and nothing's changed. You have an offensive coordinator now, and literally nothing has changed. As for the Raiders, Jimmy just needs to game manage. That needs to return. Jimmy, just game manage the game. You just don't do too much. Stop turning the ball over, and you will be just fine. I think their defense played super well last week, and if they can continue that, super, especially with as many turnovers as they got last week, just continue to do that. And I think Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams playing well last week. They just need more from Josh Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs shows up, I think this team is going to be pretty decent. And I do have the Raiders winning this game. I have the Raiders 27, Patriots 23. I'm not confident in the Patriots at all, but this is about the time when the Patriots will just show up and beat a team. So this game could go either way, but right now I am leading the Las Vegas Raiders. Our next game is the Arizona Cardinals at the LA Rams. So for the Cardinals, Jobs just needs to take care of the damn football, man. I feel like I'm just repeating myself with a lot of these teams, but a lot of these teams are just making the exact same mistakes. So Josh Dobbs, take care of the football. James Conner is now on IR, so I don't know what production they will get out of the run game, if anything. So it's just not looking great for the Cardinals right now. I still expect them to be frisky, so we'll see. I think their secondary is getting torched way too much. I think their secondary is, in my opinion, not great. So they need to figure that part out. As for the Rams, Kupp and Nakua together are elite. I think Cooper Kupp coming back, coming off of IR and playing as well as he did last week was super impressive. And I think with Puka Nakua, I think this team is going to be just fine offensively. I think their defense needs to start playing better, especially their secondary. Their secondary is... I just don't see a ton of ball hawks in their secondary, so I don't see a ton of turnovers happening consistently. So I think if their defense can just play better, play with their defensive line, I think this team will be pretty decent. And don't give up on the run game. I know a lot of teams do this, especially when you're going against an elite defensive line like the Eagles have. But do not give up on the run game. You definitely need it. And I think the Rams will get the job done this week. I get the Rams 30, Cardinals 27. I'm not high on the Cardinals, and I expect this game to be high scoring for sure. Our next game is the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Jets. So for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, he looked super great last week, and I expect that to continue going forward. Just him continuing to get better every single week, because that's kind of been Jalen Hurts' MO. I think their run game is suspect at times. It feels a little too hot and cold to me. So I think their run game needs to continue to be a part of their game plan. And I think as long as that happens going forward, I think they will be just fine, especially with how many weapons they have on offense. So that just needs to continue. Continue to feed your weapons, and I think this team will be just as good as they were last year. As for the Jets, Breece Hall needs to be the best running back in the league for this team to do well. And I think he can be, especially when he's running for 170, 140 yards every single week. It's just, he's super good, especially for this team. So Breece Hall, feed that boy. Zach Wilson needs to game manage, and yeah, I think that's all they can really ask from him. I think Zach Wilson can make some plays, but if you are relying on those some plays, you're probably going to be disappointed. I think their defense needs to not give up. They did not give up last week, and they need to continue to do that. Just have faith. Have faith in the game plan, and you will be rewarded. So I wanted to pick the Jets here, but I don't think the Jets have a prayer offensively, in my opinion. I have the Eagles winning this game. Eagles 27, Jets 13. I just expect the Eagles to pretty much shut down the Jets offense in this game. Our next game is the Detroit Lions at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So for the Lions, continue the offensive game plan. Their offense looks super good, and it looks like it is coming together, especially with that run game. I think this team is going to be very good, and it will be very scary to see them in the playoffs if they can continue what they have been doing. Their defense looks hungry all the time with Aiden Hutchinson and that defensive line. They just look super, super hungry, and I think their head coach, as well as the rest of their coaching staff, has this team believing that they can do something. And I think they actually can. And I am super high on the Lions right now. I really like the Lions. As for the Buccaneers, they're coming off a bye, so getting healthier. We're able to watch the Lions and prepare for them. And I think Baker is playing super well right now. At least he has been. So if he can continue that, I think his team's going to be pretty decent, and will contend for their division, is what we will say. The defense needs to continue to be able to hold its own. It's easy for them to beat teams like the Saints and teams that are in their division, but this will be a big test for the Buccaneers, so we'll see what their defense can do this week. I still got the Lions in this one. I got the Lions 31, Buccaneers 24. I just think the Lions are probably the better team here. No, I would say definitely the better team here, and I expect them to get this job done. So I got the Lions 31, Buccaneers 24 in this game. All right, now we are over to Sunday Night Football. It is the New York Giants at the Buffalo Bills. So for the Giants, Daniel Jones is listed as questionable to play. I was kind of putting off this video as much as I can so I could keep an eye on the injury reports, but as of right now, Daniel Jones is still listed as questionable, so we'll see if he plays or starts this week. I think they have no run game at all, especially without Saquon. They just aren't running the ball, and Daniel Jones is getting lit up every single time he drops back. It is sad. It is sad to watch the Giants offense. I feel like this team has given up, and it just doesn't feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel for this team, so it really sucks. It sucks for all those players and the staff. As for the Bills, I think their team is just too inconsistent. And I don't want to chalk it all up to last week, but I think I'm trying to figure out what this team is trying to be, and I just haven't figured it out yet. So I think the Bills are just a question mark to me right now. I think they have no run game at all. I think their leading rusher last week was Josh Allen with 14 yards. 14. And they were still in that game in the fourth quarter. You just need a run game at some point. So, Bills, you need to find a run game. I think their defense is on the field too much. I saw way too many 3-and-outs last week. Their defense cannot sustain that, especially with all the injuries that they have on defense. That being said, I don't expect the Bills to lose this game. I got the Bills in this game, 34, Giants 20. I just don't think the Giants have a prayer, and I think they don't think they have a prayer either. Now we are over to Monday Night Football. It is the Dallas Cowboys at the LA Chargers. So for the Cowboys, their defense needs to show up. The defense talks a lot. They need to back it up. So do it and maybe take games more personally. Especially I'm talking to Micah. Everybody has been talking about how Micah and this defense could be a generational defense. Prove it. I know you lost Trayvon Diggs, and that really sucks because I think he was the leader of your defense, but show up. Back up your play. No more Dak turnovers. Dak is just so turnover prone, and it chalks it all up to last year because he was the most. He had the most interceptions last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had the most interceptions at the end of this year because he just does not take care of the football. And I think Dak needs to limit those turnovers as much as possible, and I think they need to not give up on the run game. Tony Pollard, there's a reason you got rid of Zeke and thought Tony Pollard could be the guy. Let him be the guy. Feed him. Give him the ball more. Do more jet sweeps. Just figure it out. As for the Chargers, coming off a bye, getting well rested, this team also needs to not give up on the run game. So I can't remember their other running back, but I think if they just continue to run the ball, I think this team can be pretty decent, especially if Quentin Johnson can show up. They drafted you because they wanted you to be the number 2 on this team. Show up, Quentin. You got this. I believe in you. I got the Cowboys winning this game. I think Cowboys get back on track and Cowboys win this game. Cowboys 27, Chargers 20. I just think the Chargers are too hot and cold, too weird. I just don't expect them to be able to do it. But that being said, that is my Week 6 NFL predictions. What did you think? Was there any predictions you agreed with, disagreed with? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next Thursday with my Week 7 NFL predictions.